Hello, I'm Jake Boudrot, Civic Journalist at Tello Community Television. In this episode of Strait Talk, Major General Scott Malcolm, the Canadian Armed Forces Surgeon General, was initiated as an honorary member of Royal Canadian Legion Branch 150 in Arichat on July 26th to mark his achievement as the highest-ranking medical professional within the Canadian Armed Forces. After the ceremony, the Major General answered my questions. Malcolm was raised in Low River and was a graduate of the former Almadam District High in Arichat in 1993. He earned a scholarship to Harvard University and graduated in 1997. In 1999, he joined the Canadian Military's Medical Officer Training Plan and graduated from Dalhousie Medical School in 2001. Malcolm then completed his family medicine residency at the University of British Columbia in 2003. That same year, he was posted to Canadian Forces Base Petawawa, then a peacekeeping mission to Bosnia, from September to March of 2003. In January 2005, he was deployed to Sri Lanka following the tsunami as part of the Disaster Assistance Response Team, or DART. After that, he completed a tour in Afghanistan, first to Kandahar as the officer commanding the Role 1. Between 2008 and 2009, he was deployed to Afghanistan for 7.5 months, delivering primary care and medical support to combat operations with a team of doctors, medical technicians, and physician assistants. Malcolm's second deployment to Kabul from 2013 to 2014 was as physician team lead for the Operation Attention training mission. Trained as both a flight surgeon and an advanced military diving medic, he served as base medical officer at the Kingston and Halifax clinics. After serving as regional medical officer for the Atlantic, he then took up the duties of medical advisor to the commander of the Royal Canadian Navy in Ottawa. Malcolm was promoted to the rank of colonel in 2015 and became Director Force Health Protection before being posted to the Canadian Forces College to follow the National Security Program. Transferred to Edmonton in June 2018, Malcolm took command of One Healthcare Services Group. Upon his return to Ottawa in October 2019, he was appointed Director Health Services Operations just before the start of the COVID-19 global pandemic. In July 2020, Malcolm became Deputy Chief Medical Officer and was subsequently seconded to the Public Health Agency of Canada from November 2020 to March 2021 as medical advisor to the Vice President of Logistics and Operations to assist with the national deployment of COVID-19 vaccines. Malcolm served as medical planner just before Wave 1 of the pandemic and was the lead medical planner on the repatriation of Canadians from Wuhan, China, off the cruise ship in Japan. Then he led the medical planning on deployments into long-term care facilities in Quebec and Ontario. On June 25, 2021, Malcolm was named Brigadier General and appointed the Commander of Canadian Forces Health Services in Ottawa. In 2023, Malcolm became Canadian Armed Forces Surgeon General.
I would like to take this opportunity to present a branch service medal to a past member of our executive and a great volunteer at the branch. I'd like to call upon Comrade President Ed Rideout. To present Comrade Marlene Henry with her branch service medal. Congratulations. The other presentation I would like to make is to someone who was a very good friend of mine, an upstanding Legionnaire, and also my partner in crime here at the branch, and my go-to guy for everything. I've been telling him for years that he is out of dress when wearing his Legion uniform because he isn't wearing his proper badges. We are permitted to wear our regimental badges on our right jacket pocket and a second one on the left pocket. So, for everything this person does for our veterans and their families, I would like to call forward Comrade Clive Sampson, Chief Warrant Officer Retired, Royal Canadian Regiment and Nova Scotia Highlander, and our branch service officer to accept his Royal Canadian Regiment badge for his uniform. Now, sir, the next time I see you in uniform, you better be properly dressed. Major General Malcolm, Crystal, Elliot, Lydia, Juliana, and Sabrina. Scott's parents, Henry and Mare. Sister Annette and husband Rocky DeCoste. Brother Eric and his wife Cheryl Malcolm. Brother Wade Malcolm and Crystal's parents, Jennifer and Jim Doyle. Aunts, uncles, friends, former teachers, and classmates of Scott. Deputy District Commander Sylvester McGinnis, Zone 3 Commander John Langley, Branch 150 President Ed Rideout, Richmond County Warden Lois Landry, fellow comrades, veterans, and invited guests. Welcome and thank you for coming to what is a first for Almadam Branch 150.
I'm very humbled and honored to have been asked by Comrade Dion to participate in this event on behalf of the military spouses and Branch 150 Legion here in Almadam. As Comrade Dion mentioned, Major General Malcolm's better half, Crystal Doyle Malcolm, thoughtfully shared some highlights about their children so we could help introduce them to those of you here this evening that do not already know them. So here they are, here in the front. So their firstborn son is Elliot, and he's 18 years of age. Elliot will be heading off for his first year of university this fall at Belmont Abbey College in North Carolina, where he'll be actually playing NCAA lacrosse and studying criminal justice, correct? Great. At this point, Elliot is considering a career in policing or law. Crystal tells us that of the 4 children, Elliot probably felt the brunt of Scott's military career the most. There's always one of them, eh? So when Elliot was just 6 weeks old, Scott had to go on training and was gone for several weeks. Following Elliot's first birthday, Scott was posted to northern Quebec for 4 months, where he went on his own, unaccompanied by his family. When Scott returned home to Kingston, he was immediately sent on pre-deployment training for 8 months. During this time, Scott traveled from Texas to Alberta and other training facilities before finally departing for Kandahar on Elliot's 2nd birthday. At 2 years of age, Elliot was very attached to his soother, like quite a few kids. So when Scott left for his tour in Afghanistan, Crystal told Elliot that his daddy took the suitor with him. It's a good storyline, eh? Yeah, exactly. So Elliot understood that Scott would likely need that security soother while away, and so he accepted that that's it. It was gone. Although Scott didn't actually have Elliot's soother, Scott did find one of Elliot's baby socks tucked into his fitted sheets. That's pretty sweet, eh? It turns out that Elliot's baby sock gave Scott the comfort and security he needed in Afghanistan. The same comfort Elliot believed his missing soother was providing to his daddy. Super, right? So our next child is Lydia Malcolm. Lydia is 15 years old, and she'll be starting grade 10 in September. Right? There you are. Of the 4 children, Lydia has acquired the most of Scott's traits. Lydia is sharp-minded, confident, and unafraid to take the lead. Just like Scott, she has a presence that commands attention with a natural source of authority and intelligence. Though her size gets her, in the words of her grandfather Henry Malcolm, "If my legs were longer, I would be taller." She already has her life planned out, and she's the first of the Malcolm children to voice plans to follow somewhat in Dad's footsteps. She plans to enlist in the military when she turns 17, go to law school while serving in the Canadian Armed Forces, and then she plans to retire from the military once her obligatory service is completed to pursue a second career in politics. And I can already attest that she's going to be fantastic because she's been kind of moving around and working the crowd in the back there, and she is absolutely delightful. Exactly, eh? That's great. And then we have the third child, Juliana. So Juliana is 13 years old and she'll be starting grade 8 in September. She's an excellent soccer player and has been selected to play provincial level soccer in Ontario. And on the surface, she's, as you can see, she's very sweet and kind. But when Juliana is on the soccer field, she can be vicious. When Juliana was 9 months old, Scott left for his second deployment in Afghanistan, this time to Kabul. Juliana did not appreciate Scott's absence as she struggled to sleep during his deployment. So she would sleep when the nanny was babysitting, but as soon as Mama Crystal walked in the house after a late evening shift at the hospital, Juliana would start crying again. She really loved hugs and snuggling, no matter what time of the day or night. And of course, by the time Scott returned from Kandahar, lo and behold, Crystal had Juliana sleeping soundly throughout the night. And then we have, last but not least, Sabrina. So Sabrina is the fourth child in the Malcolm household, and she's 11 years old. Sabrina is by far the most like her mom, Crystal. She's sweet and kind, thoughtful, and always wants to help. She's really the perfect child. You think this might have been written by her mother? Sabrina plays baseball and hockey with boys, and they don't hold back when playing against her because they know she's pretty ferocious. She might seem sweet when you talk to her, but put her on the baseball field, and she projects Scott's voice. 2 outs, plays to first. She's clearly heard from the outfield, and you would swear it was her father. Sabrina's grandmother or her grandmother, right? She's tough and gritty, and much like a few generations of ball players in the McCarthy-Malcolm families, she has walked away from many games behind the plate with bruises all over her legs. I know one of those McCarthys. I've seen those bruises. So shortly after Sabrina was born, the Malcolms were posted to Ottawa, where Scott began the final leg of his journey to Surgeon General. In the fall of 2017, Scott was living part-time in Toronto while he took a year-long course to learn how to be a general. When the year of training was completed, Scott then moved away full-time to Edmonton. During this time, the eldest son, Elliot, was asked to join the lacrosse team based out of Toronto that would travel to the Lacrosse World Series. However, Elliot didn't get to do this, and he was extremely disappointed when they were unable to make this work out for him at the time. Thankfully, the initial 3-year posting was cut short in November of 2019, and Scott was moved home to Ottawa to assume a new position called Director of Operations. Crystal recalls Scott saying that this was a great job with sweet hours, and that the only thing that would make this a tough job was if something ridiculous happened, like a global pandemic. No kidding. Can you imagine? Crystal says that if you needed to blame anyone for the COVID pandemic, she would totally blame Scott. He jinxed it. She also has a sense of humor, right? From planning mass evacuations of Canadians overseas to deploying our military personnel into challenged nursing homes in Canada, and finally being the medical advisor to the military general to develop a plan to roll out the vaccination plans, Scott handled all of this with ease. He's a true leader. In the Malcolm home, Scott knew his family was working hard as a team and stepping up as always to support his career. Elliot kept up to date with the 3 younger kids' schooling and homework, And he did the yard work while Lydia cooked craft dinner for basically every meal. I'm sure that whole meal plan has, it's probably more flourished now. Yeah. More advanced. In December 2023, Scott finally reached the pinnacle of his career and received his promotion to Surgeon General. When he comes home, he says he loves his job. The kids know that what he really does at work all day is play Fortnite on his computer like most adults. Great. So I think I'll hand it back over now to Comrade Dion, who's gonna interject at this point.
Thank you, Noreen, and again, thank you, Crystal, for allowing us to share those thoughts with everyone. I thought it very important to share it with everybody this evening, as it paints a very good picture of what some military families go through and experience throughout a career. I know some of us here can relate to that and the sacrifices that Scott, Crystal, the kids, and his family have had to endure. That brings me to a very powerful quote: behind every strong soldier, there is an even stronger family who stands by them, supports them, and loves them with all her heart. Having a strong support group back home tends to make our deployments easier. Henry and Mare have been married a long time. I didn't get a chance to ask them how long, but I think it's almost as long as the last time her precious Maple Leafs have won this thing.
I was 17 when we won the Stanley Cup.
Not sure how they've managed to stay together for so long, with Henry being a Montreal Canadiens fan. But they managed and raised 6 very successful children: Scott, Annette, Eric, Wade, Amy, and Patrick. I met with Henry and Mare on 3 separate occasions as we were planning this event, and I must say that they are extremely proud of all their children. They are very kind individuals, and I could have spoken with them forever. And I want to thank you both for allowing me into your home and sharing with me stories of your children and grandchildren and helping me make this evening possible. So now I would like to call on comrades Leon and Sally LeBlanc to come forward for a presentation, please. Leon and Sally will present Henry and Mare with a small token of our appreciation. Leon and Sally have had a son deployed throughout his career, so they are representing all parents that have had children deployed overseas. Now I would like to present Crystal's parents, Jennifer and Jim Doyle, with a small gift for all their help and support they have given Crystal and Scott over the years, and for their coming down to help celebrate this event. It's one of our poppy bird feeders.
Can we get a picture there, Dad?
Make sure you smile, Jim.
I would now like to call forward my kids, comrades Michaela and Brayden Boudrot, to present small tokens of appreciation to Elliot, Lydia, Juliana, and Sabrina. Michaela and Braden represent all kids who have had parents deployed overseas.
You guys should be a little bit better looking.
Two on the end.
Leon, I'm coming.
Look at mom like that.
Everybody look at mom. Thank you.
Once again, I want to call upon Noreen to talk a bit about Crystal and to present her with a gift. Prior to Crystal coming up, I will ask that all the wives here tonight that have had their spouse deployed overseas to join Noreen in the presentation.
I have a little bit of insider information, so this may or may not be fair. However, my lifelong friend, Camilla McCarthy, is also in the room, and she helped me prepare these notes. I've been told by Scott's aunt, Camilla, that when Scott first laid eyes on a beautiful blonde young lady at the Dalhousie baseball field who was playing first base, so bonus, she likes baseball, right? He knew immediately he had to meet her. She was the one. At the time, both Scott and Crystal were studying medicine at Dal. Much like Scott, Crystal Doyle was raised in a loving home on the East Coast. Crystal is the daughter of Jennifer and Jim Doyle, who was just presented with a little token from the Legion, and they're farmers from Prince Edward Island. They travel from PEI to celebrate Scott's career accomplishments with us, and we're very thankful for that. Thank you. Raised on a cattle and hog farm, Crystal learned the importance of hard work, faith, and family. Much like their children, both Scott and Crystal are very athletic and they have an endless supply of energy. Crystal enjoys running and has participated in several triathlons. She enjoys swimming, whitewater rafting, baking, and entertaining family and friends. Over the years, both Scott and Crystal have volunteered as coaches on their children's sports teams, whether that be soccer, baseball, or lacrosse. Crystal is a devout Christian and she's down to earth. She's always volunteered in her parish, and every year she organizes the children's Christmas pageant at their church, which I believe is in Manotick, is it?
Close to it, yeah.
Close to Manotick,
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. She is simply put a very good person that does whatever she can to help others. In addition to being down to earth and a super mom supporting Scott's military career, Crystal has managed to pursue her career as an emergency physician. In fact, she worked at several hospitals in the outskirts of Ottawa, which included Smiths Falls, Queensway Carleton, and Winchester, where, little side note, she actually met my husband, John, who went in there because he got slammed in the face with a board when he was building a deck. And she actually stitched his chin. So thank you very much. That's great. It's a very small world. Crystal has made numerous trips up north, accompanied by interns from her hospital staff in the Ottawa region, to help serve the emergency needs of our Indigenous peoples living in remote locations. And I've also been told that she contributed her talents as a doctor at the hospital emergency room in PEI. True story?
Yeah.
There you go. Isn't that great? Like so many other military spouses, Crystal has been the backbone of the family. Crystal has embraced military life, She has been patient and flexible. She has been strong and resilient. She has faced many challenges head on and assumed the role of both mom and dad as needed when Scott had to be away on deployment. Crystal has embraced every new adventure. She's forged friendships in different posting locations and enthusiastically moved when needed to support Scott's career. Crystal, you really are an awesome human being. Thank you for everything that you have done to support Scott. So now, on behalf of the Almaden Legion Branch 150 Legion here, and the community of military spouses that are with us this evening, it is my privilege to offer you a gift basket as a small gesture of our deep appreciation for your instrumental role in supporting Scott to achieve the rank of Surgeon General of the Canadian Armed Forces.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, you have to give him.
The basket is filled with local goodies, so
Fantastic.
If Comrade Clive could please come forward to read something from Comrade Dave Forgeron, former principal of Almaden District High School.
Hi, everyone. From Dave Forgeron. He couldn't be with us tonight, but he wanted to express his good wishes to Scott. So let me begin by expressing how disappointed I am that I cannot be present for the special presentation as I underwent surgery in Toronto on Thursday. When it became known that our special guest, Major General Scott Malcolm, had been appointed to the position of Surgeon General of the Canadian Armed Forces, and that he was a graduate of Almaden District High School, it was suggested by the zone commander, Comrade John Langley, that Almaden Branch 150 look at the possibility of honoring Major General Malcolm in some way, such as making him an honorary life member, which is what we're doing here today. I must say that Master Warrant Officer retired Dion Boudrot, currently Branch Honors and Awards Committee Chair, assisted by Chief Warrant Officer Clive Sampson, currently Branch Service Officer, and others, pursued the idea to fruition, including obtaining Scott's agreeing to accept this award. We know that Scott Malcolm is not from Almaden, but we also know that for 5 days a week for 4 years, he attended Almaden District High School, where he obtained his high school completion certificate with highest honors, leading his class academically and also as a student council president. If Quebecers can claim Sidney Crosby as one of their own, after his playing junior hockey in Rimouski for 2 years, we feel very comfortable in claiming Scott as one of our own. As his principal, I can attest to the fact that Scott was very bright, hardworking, determined, a seeker of knowledge, and driven to be the best that he could be. Those qualities, along with his social skills and friendly disposition, certainly helped him in making a great career in the Canadian Armed Forces. While many of us strive to be successful or as successful as we can be, and sometimes to succeed in doing so, you are in the rare position where you can honestly say you have reached the very top of your profession. Not only did Scott excel academically while in high school, but he was also heavily involved in student activities. He was a member of the wrestling team and worked on a part-time basis at Shoppers Drug Mart in Port Hawkesbury. His involvement, along with his academic record, made him a prime candidate for acceptance in some elite university, and before leaving IMDH, not one, but 2 Ivy League universities offered him acceptance and very considerable offers of scholarship and bursaries. In the end, he chose Harvard University, one of the world's highest rated universities, where again, he was very successful. He then pursued medical studies at Dalhousie, and University of British Columbia Schools of Medicine. That has been followed by a highly successful career in Canada's military. While we did not know what your career path would be, we at IMDH were sure that you would be highly successful in whatever you chose. You did not disappoint. Rest assured that your former teachers and classmates were very pleased to hear that you had been promoted to Major General and appointed as Surgeon General. Your family, your community, and your former high school are all so very proud of you and what you have achieved. My research indicates that there are only 22 Major Generals in Canada's military. And IMDH, one of about 2,600 high schools in Canada, has one that is Surgeon General in our military. I would be remiss if I did not make reference to your family, your parents. Henry and Mary Margaret brought up a large family and obviously instilled you the values of hard work and education. This is obvious when one looks at your success and that of your siblings, and without doubt, they had to make sacrifices along the way, but I'm sure they believed it was all well worth it. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Malcolm. I would love to be there today just to see the beaming smile on Mary Margaret's face. Scott, or should I say Major General Malcolm, thank you for honoring us by accepting our invitation to become an honorary life membership of Branch 150. Merci beaucoup et bonne chance.
Thank you, Clive and Dave, and we'd all like to keep Dave in our thoughts and prayers. Major General Scott F. Malcolm, MSc, CD, MD. Hailing from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, Major General Scott Malcolm joined the Canadian Armed Forces in 1999 through the Medical Officer Training Plan. Upon completion of his residency in family medicine, he was posted to Canadian Forces Base Petawawa, where he completed an operational tour to Bosnia and a mission with the Disaster Assistance Response Team to Sri Lanka. He completed 2 subsequent tours to Afghanistan, one to Kandahar as the officer commanding the Role 1, and the other to Kabul as physician team lead for the Operation Attention Training Mission. Trained as both a flight surgeon and advanced dive medical officer, he held positions as base surgeon at the clinics in both Kingston and Halifax. Following his roles as regional surgeon Atlantic, he was posted to Ottawa as medical advisor to the commander of the Royal Canadian Navy. Upon promotion to the rank of colonel in 2015, Major General Malcolm became the Director of Force Health Protection and was subsequently posted to Canadian Forces College to complete the National Security Program. Posted to Edmonton in June of 2018, he took command of one health services group. He was then appointed as Director of Health Services Operations upon posting back to Ottawa in October 2019, just in time for the SARS pandemic. In July of 2020, he assumed the position as Deputy Surgeon General. He was subsequently seconded to Public Health Agency of Canada from November 2020 to March 2021 as the medical advisor to the Vice President of Logistics and Operations in support of the national rollout of COVID-19 vaccine to Canadians. In June of 2021, he became the Commander of Health Services Division. On December 13th, 2023, Major General Malcolm was appointed as the Surgeon General. Committed to lifelong learning and designated a Canadian certified physician executive, Major General Malcolm's interests include leadership training, quality improvement, change management, and design thinking. Now it is quite evident why we are so proud and honored in making Major General Malcolm an honorary life member of our branch. I would like to call upon immediate past President Donald Goyesh. I know it's a surprise, Donald, but you're not the only one that's going to be surprised. Second Vice President Vincent Jr. Boudrot, and our Treasurer Joan Clennon to come forward and present Major General Malcolm with some small gifts from the branch. Now I'd like to call upon the individual whose idea this was, and I thank him for that, Zone 3 Commander Comrade John Langley, to present Scott with a plaque. In one of my visits to Henry and Mayor's, Mayor had mentioned to me that she had gone to a sports banquet one time for herself. It was for her, and Scott had gone with her. And Scott was young, I'm not sure how old. 4. When Scott got back to the house, he was pretty disappointed and went to see his dad and was crying because Mom had received a trophy and he had.
Last time that happened.
So, sir, we have your own trophy right here. The plaque reads awarded to Major General Scott F. Malcolm, CMM, MSc, CD, honorary life member, Royal Canadian Almadam Branch 150, 26 July 2025. Mayor had always told me that the kids got their athleticism from her and their smarts from Henry. And Henry, that's not a bad thing because I know if I tried to convince everybody that my kids got their smarts from me, it just wouldn't fly. Now, I'd like for Comrade President Edward Rideout and Comrade Clive Sampson come forward. And we will present Scott with a certificate, and it is the first of its kind at this branch, created with the help of Clive and Jarek. The certificate reads, honorary life membership. This certifies that Major General Scott F. Malcolm, CMM, MSc, CD, in pursuance of the authority and powers of the Royal Canadian Legion, Almadam Branch 150, through its Constitution, bylaws, rules, and regulations, in witness whereof Major General Scott F. Malcolm has been accepted as an honorary life member of this branch, as attested by the hands of the President and Zone 3 Commander on this 26th day of the month of July in the year 2025, signed by John Langley, Zone 3 Commander, and Edward Rideout, President, Branch 150. The final presentation is something that will hang in the branch forever, and that is a picture of Major General Scott Malcolm. I will ask Clive to present this along with myself to Scott. Major General Malcolm III, would you like to address the audience?
Please, please. Hey, bonjour tout le monde, c'est un grand plaisir pour moi d'être ici ce soir. Oui, j'ai appris un peu de français depuis mes années ici sur l'île, madame. Pas nécessairement grâce aux certaines enseignants, enseignantes. Est-ce que M. Goyette, est-ce qu'il est là? Hey. You know what? So I had no idea what the whole event was going to be about, and I have to say, c'est vraiment quelque chose. Vraiment. To see so many folks who've taken time out of their Saturday evening to come out and welcome the family like they have. I've been to many different award ceremonies throughout the course of my career, and I've never, ever been to one like this. And why it's so special? Why it's so special is not because you've far overdone it in recognizing me and my career, but you spent a lot of time recognizing those aspects of great importance to me and my life, which is my family. Obviously, without my parents, I wouldn't be here this evening. Kind of goes without saying. My siblings, perhaps, yes, I could still be here without them.
You wouldn't have went to Harvard without me.
That's true. But, you know, had I only been, you know, the oldest of perhaps one or two, I wouldn't have had that same competitive spirit. So whether it's fighting over who gets a slice of dad's supper because he's not home to eat it with us, and you know, so that was obviously key too. But then to my family, as you've heard, they made a lot of sacrifices for me, and almost, which, you know, truly never get recognized. Sure, you know, we were always willing to inject a word to say thanks to the families, and I know, and I'll be the first to tell you that I don't do it enough. You know, Crystal, the kids, I couldn't have achieved what I've achieved without them. And if you look at the time during the pandemic in particular, you know, 13-year-old Elliot was running the house while his mom and dad, Crystal was the chief of the emergency department. At that time, we'd leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, not sure when we were coming back. And we did that for weeks and months on end. So when the online schooling started in Ontario and the emails were coming in from the teachers, one night we sent a note to the teachers and saying, we can't manage the emails. If there's a problem with the girls, email Elliot. No joke. So what you've done here this evening has been quite something. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the recognition and the overdue recognition for them. Et j'ai bien apprécié le point sur le fait que, évidemment, je viens pas d'ici directement, ici à l'île Madame. Mais c'est vrai, j'ai passé probablement 4 ans de ma vie des plus importants. Et évidemment, cette communauté avait vraiment un impact sur qui je suis maintenant. J'ai pas bien apprécié à ce moment-là l'importance d'être bilingue. Oui, j'ai appris du français. Évidemment, maintenant, j'ai un petit accent qui peut-être lié à l'Acadie, je ne sais pas, peut-être. Mais écoute, ça va avoir vraiment un impact sur qui je suis maintenant. And it's true. I was talking with the warden, and we were saying that, you know, back in the day when people weren't traveling quite as much as they do, Isle Madame seemed like a long ways away. And there was lots of competition, you know, particularly in the sports. And so, you know, was I going to tell people that I was from Arichat? Evidently not. I was from Low River. You know, we would fight tooth and nail against those from Loosedale and everywhere else when it came to a ball game or a good match of tennis. But, you know, as I've grown up, just a bit since I was, you know, in school here 32 years ago. Hard to believe. You know, I know, and this evening just really reinforced it, what it means to be part of a community. And the community can be as small as the household you grow up in, but it can be as large as your county. It can be as big as the island of Cape Breton, or honestly, in the current environment, it could be just being that we're all part of one great nation. And so I just want to thank you all, because I'm truly touched by the fact that so many people who haven't seen me in decades have nonetheless made time on their Saturday evening to come out for this and to celebrate, again, not just me, but my family and my extended family. And I think what I'd like to end on is just, you know, for the members of the Legion, particularly those who have served, l'adjudant-chef, l'adjudant-maître, puis le reste de groupe ici. The world is a challenging place right now, and you know, it's one where the sacrifices, sadly, that have been made in the past, I don't think that we continue to appreciate so much, because we're here in the midst of seemingly repeating the mistakes. So to bring a community together like this evening, to appreciate what we all have, and hopefully not necessary, but down the road, we're going to need to come together, you know, as small communities, as the whole county, as the whole country, to make sure that we as Canadians can defend ourselves in the face of whatever may come. So I thank you for evenings like this that remind us that we are all part of something, you know, larger than ourselves, but something that we all enjoy greatly, which is being Canadian citizens. I proudly continue to wear the maple leaf on my combats on my day-to-day. I thank you again for this evening. It just reinforces to me why I'm proud to be a Canadian, why I'm proud to be a member of the Canadian Armed Forces, and so very pleased to now have a lifelong connection with this Legion and all the members, both past, present, and future. Merci beaucoup, tout le monde.
Ladies and gentlemen, Major General Scott Malcolm, the first honorary elect member of Royal Canadian Legion, Almaden Branch 150. In closing, I want to once again thank everyone in attendance here for coming and being part of this special event. Thank you to Scott and Crystal for taking the time out of their busy schedules. It's been my honor to be part of this, and that concludes the event for this evening. Please stay as long as you want, as long as you'd like, chat, reminisce, tell stories. Thank you.
What's your reaction to this honor? I know you spoke about it, then you seem to get a little emotional and touched, but maybe if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, thanks for asking that question. A couple of things. So number one, while I don't come directly from the community here, I did spend, you know, my 4 years in high school here, and truly the community had a big impact on who I am today. And I think, you know, part of that was understanding the importance of the French language and a connection to the culture. But then just, you know, during those formative years helped shape who I am. But the other part is it was really touching with this ceremony, and something that I've never experienced before was the recognition of the family, and not just my immediate family, but my parents and my parents-in-law. Exceptional work, and you know, the honor is so great to become part of this Legion as a lifetime member.
Yeah, and I noticed you were mentioning that. You said, you know, people that are in the military, they volunteer, but the families are conscripted.
Right.
And they have to bear some of the burden of service.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think it's in many ways easier for the military member to be deployed, albeit, you know, to some very challenging environments. But you go in with a certain understanding. There's a certain structure to that you get accustomed to. But what your families deal with is the uncertainty of, okay, my co-partner here is gone. Now I've got, in my wife's case, 3, 4 kids at home. What if something breaks? She's still trying to maintain her schedule of work and the kids' schedules of school and activities, but doing it as a solo parent. You can't predict what that's going to look like, and there is no rule book for it. It's so extremely challenging for them, and it's something that, in evenings like this, that truly starts to get recognized.
And the other thing you noted too is you said this was different from other ceremonies and that you've been at, where it tends to be focused on the service member and their service, and this one was a little different and something that you quite enjoyed, and you made note of it to a lot of the people here at the Legion, how appreciative you were of that.
Absolutely. So typically what would happen at your usual military award ceremony or dinner of sorts would be you would hear the biography or the notable achievement of the member in uniform, and then kind of as, meant in a good way, but more as a side note. And of course, this wouldn't be possible without the support of the families. The difference this evening is it started with the families. It talked about their role, the central role that they played. There was an opportunity for people to hear about my kids, my wife, my parents, really special. And then to see them recognized following their introduction to the group, with heartfelt sort of gifts. It was really exceptionally well done. This will be something that, both myself, my kids, my family will carry for a long time. And the other piece is having this locally meant that I could, for the first time really in my career, have my parents-in-law and all of my family together, and my extended family along with my friends, attend a military honors event. So really special for me.
And you were raised in the Lower River, and you were a graduate of Almadam District High here in Arichat back in 1993. In that time, you got to meet many friends and teachers from this area. A lot of connections were made to this area, Lower River, Almadam, Louisdale, Western Richmond area. What does this part of the world mean to you?
So what does this part of the world to me, I think, is best described by the opening line in my bio, which says hails from Cape Breton. And so Cape Breton, Lower River, Richmond County, it's who I am. It's where I started. And everything comes full circle. Here I am as now a lifetime member here at the Legion in Arichat, and within Richmond County, of course, in Cape Breton. It's always part of who I am, and it's amazing how many East Coasters, Cape Bretoners in specific, and even to this area, folks from Petitgraft, from Arichat, West Arichat, Louisdale, that I've met in the course of my career. And there's always that fast connection that's made with folks from home. So it's real special to come back for an event like this.
And I noticed one thing, there was a good sized contingent from the Almadam District High class of 1993. I imagine that was special to you to see some former classmates.
Oh, 100%. And again, it just speaks to what I tried to reflect a little bit in my notes, is that, back in our adolescent time, sure, there was a bit of healthy competition that exists between all the different communities here. And let's face it, we're all pretty tiny locations. But to see my classmates make time on a Saturday night in July to come out to say thanks, to say hi, to wish me well, super special. I mean, again, it's things that you take like that you take for granted. But clearly there were strong bonds built, and ones that I, occasionally need to be reminded that need to be nurtured over time. And it was suddenly like, the last time that I saw them about a decade ago, we've been able to close those gaps pretty quickly. And it feels like just back in high school, sitting in my basement, going over the night before math tests or something like that. So it's great to see the folks that were able to get out this evening.
Now, they talked about your service record, and maybe, how proud of you are of your service record. You were served tours in Afghanistan. You were deployed after the tsunami, and maybe you want to just talk about that, like, how you feel about that.
So, as I kind of mentioned in my remarks this evening, there's a reason that I've remained in the forces as long as I have, and it's about representing Canada and representing it proudly. And as meaningful as my deployments, as you mentioned, have been, really my proudest moment in my service to date, and it's been built on, you know, my lifelong experiences, not just those in uniform, but those that started here, in the community, was the role that I got to play during the pandemic. And to know that I was equipped with the tools that I needed in order to help Canada's the most vulnerable in their time of need. And I believe, my team within Canadian Armed Forces Health Services saved lives of Canadians, and to know that I was a part of that is really special for me and makes all of the challenges and sacrifices, including those made by my family, really worthwhile.
Now, I know that's something that you're involved in as well, about vaccinations and that, during the pandemic, getting people vaccinated, things of that nature. But now we're starting to see a resurgence of different things like measles, outbreaks of things that had already been essentially eradicated. And I'm sure your stance on it is that people, need to get vaccinated, and seems to be society's getting away from that a little bit, from things that we've been doing for decades.
Right. So you're right. As the Surgeon General, and most recently over the last couple of months, I actually put out a defense-wide notice around encouraging folks, whether those in uniform or their family members or dependents, to consider their measles vaccinations. Vaccinations remain exceedingly safe. The standard to have vaccines approved in Canada is extremely high, and it's all overseen by Health Canada. And, it is a simple and easy way for Canadians to protect themselves against, known risks. We don't know when the next pandemic may arise. We need to reinforce to folks the safety of vaccines, and the rigor of the process to get them improved. So yes, most certainly, as a Surgeon General, as a licensed physician, I encourage all folks to become vaccinated, because there's so many other threats in the world that we can do little about. But vaccinations are certainly an easy and safe way in order for folks to protect their health.
On June 25th, 2021, you were named Brigadier General and appointed the Commander of Canadian Forces Health Services in Ottawa. And then after taking over as Surgeon General of the Canadian Armed Forces, you said changes will be coming to the military healthcare system. And when we spoke, I think it was over a year ago, how is that process going?
So I'm pleased to say it's going extremely well. So after the most recent budget announcement, Health Services has received a considerable investment in it, obviously as part of the large investment in the Canadian Armed Forces. So we feel at this point that we're going to be able to have all of the clinicians that we need, both in uniform and civilian, that support our health system in order to continue to deliver safe, high quality care within our clinics in Canada. But more importantly, we're making key advancements in our ability to support future operations, be it in the North, in the Euro-Atlantic, or in Indo-Pacific. And some of those things will focus on more up-to-date ambulances. Also, the ability to do things such as damage control resuscitation. What does that mean? Simply put, is one of the most survivable injuries in a conflict is from bleeding. And so damage control resuscitation means providing folks quick access to blood or blood products in order to replace the blood that has been lost. And another type of intervention is called damage control surgery, which means obviously if you're bleeding from somewhere, you need to be able to correct what's bleeding. And so we've been making significant advancements in our ability to deliver both of those capabilities, obviously backed by an enhanced blood program. So good investment made on that front. We've also made some key changes to a number of our trades, most notably with our new combat medic and combat paramedic trades, which is a split from formerly our medical technician trade, which is going to allow us to more properly utilize our combat medics in a more discrete, specific way, which is going to help ensure that we provide the best care we can far forward and a little bit further back, making sure that we've got the right people in the right place at the right time.
Now, we were just discussing this, so I don't know how much into specifics you want to go. And if you don't wish to, that's certainly your prerogative. Given world events, the current state of the world, do you foresee that your position is going to change, or that the role of healthcare in the military is going to change? Do you see any path deviating from where you're currently on now?
So what I would say is, and this is part of Canada's commitment to NATO, is that not only is it going to be military health systems and NATO countries that are going to be implicated should things continue to heat up in the world, but is an understanding about civilian military cooperation. And I think you're sort of hearing that language more in Canada now, with the need to invest in the defense of Canada, focus on the north. And so what I see is deepening ties between the civilian Canadian medical system and the military health system. We have a big exercise that's going to be going on, which is led by the University of Toronto in September, which is a tabletop exercise, a pan-Canadian tabletop exercise that would look at how could we evacuate large sustained numbers of casualties from a conflict somewhere else in the world. And with that, you'll see healthcare systems from across the country come together, working with a number of different organizations from the military in order to see what that looks like. So that's one example. Again, the military is all about being prepared, and this is another way that we need to be prepared for other potential eventualities.
You went from IMDH to Low River, to Harvard, UBC, and Canadian military, and now you're in the upper echelon of the Canadian military. What advice would you give to a younger person who's looking at you for an example, and what should I do to succeed in the way that you did?
So what I would say to folks is that don't let anybody tell you that it's where that you come from or what your background is that is going to inhibit you from achieving whatever you want. I grew up in a community of 17 houses. I came to the community here, which has got a few more than 17, but all the same, I don't know that if folks necessarily believed that I could go on to become the Surgeon General, but there were enough folks that encouraged me along the way, whether it's my classmates, my teachers, my family, certainly. You got to believe. But there's nothing for free in this life, and you've got to work hard for it because it's not going to be given to you. So while abilities are key, it's your steadfastness and your desire. So find something that you're passionate about, and if your heart's in it and you're willing to work for it, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. Don't let anybody tell you anything otherwise.
Thank you for watching Strait Talk. Please tune in again to find out what we will be talking about.